We're going to talk about a concept that Cub and I found in a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The concept is called Sharpen the Saw, and it started off with a little story, and I'll just sort of paraphrase what it is. It's like there's a guy in the woods, and he's sawing down a tree, and this other guy comes upon him, and he's like, "Hey, man." I'm saying this in my own words. This isn't how it was. And what's up, motherfucker? That's not how it was. But he's like, "Hey, man, you look tired. You know, what's going on?" And the guy's like, man, I've been sawing this tree for 5 hours now, you know, and I got to get it done." And the other guy says, "Well, why don't you take a break and sharpen the saw?" And the guy goes, "Dude, I got to get this shit done. I can't stop to sharpen the saw." And they, you know, I think you can get what the point is. Like if he had stopped to sharpen the saw, you know, once he found out that it was dull, or, you know, if it was taking 5 hours, but it should have been done in an hour. Mm-hmm. If he took, you know, a half hour to sharpen the saw, he'd really
cut his time in half.
Yeah. And, you know, so that break that he took would be worthwhile. And so we want to bring this into graph, because if I wanted to get better at graph, you know, I'd just crack open the sketchbook and just draw over and over again, and not really, I mean, you're kind of sharpening the saw in that sense, but there's other things that you can and should do. I feel like a sneeze is coming on. It's like right there. It went away. I got allergies, man. They're kind of bad.
Get it.
So we just want to go over a few of our ideas on sharpening the saw, and some of our experiences on saw sharpening techniques that we use in our lives.
Yes.
You want to throw some stuff in? I got some. I think we can go over some of the stuff they talked about, but
ultimately, yeah, like you just said, to sharpening, you know, you notice that your mental, physical, fucking mind, body, soul, and spirit is dull in whatever regard. You gotta tend to all of them. It's can kind of be titled as balance as well. Just making sure you fine tuning all those things. So, you know, your blade is dull. Each tooth, so, you know, represents, let's say, a different part of your, you know, like I said, mind, body, soul, spirit. All those fucking things that can relate to everything that somebody does in their life, whether it's, you know, their marriage, their raising their family, their job, their fucking graph career, the way they treat their crew, the way they're preserving and enhancing their artistic abilities, and how they're placing themselves in this culture, and how they're being seen and influencing. So overall, that's how we can kind of we can go into further detail regarding those corners.
Well, why don't we break down a few things? So one thing that I always go back to is like taking care of yourself, and a lot of people don't. So if you think about graffiti, outside of like the social aspect of it, if you think purely creatively, that's a brain activity. There is some physical, like with your hands and shit, and like fine-tuning your can control or pencil control or whatever the fuck for drawing in black books or whatever, but it's mainly a mental activity. And so it's weird, and like I didn't make this connection for a long time, and a lot of people, I think we have a tendency to think of our body and our brain as sort of like two different things. I mean, obviously our body and brain are together, but like as far as taking care of those things, you think like, so I got to eat well to not gain weight.
Sure.
And I got to exercise to be stronger and things like that. Mm-hmm. But they don't really think, and I didn't either, that all that stuff directly affects your brain too. So if you're thinking about graffiti as a creative process and you're not taking care of your body, you're also not taking care of your brain by not feeding it good fuel, by not exercising. There's a direct relationship to the brain with physical exercise, with the food you eat. And there's even like, I don't have a good grasp on this knowledge, but there's supposed to be a connection between the brain and the gut. And I can't remember what it is, but it's like they're finding there's even more relationship to the food you eat to your brain function. I wish I knew more. I mean, but I'll just throw that little seed out there. If you have interest, like pop open Google and try and figure some shit out, you know, on your own. But like,
yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, like, there's a direct relationship between what you eat to how your brain functions. And there's a lot of food. There's a lot of food that you can eat that actually helps your brain function. And then just being healthy in general. And then exercise, it also kind of like, it contributes to that. So those two things, food and exercise, can really do so much for your creativity, for your mental toughness, for all of the stuff that you need in order to sharpen the saw, to do better graffiti, to have a better standing in the culture. Because really, if you think about it, that's like the very beginning, like taking care of your physical body. Because like if you don't have your health, it's a wrap. Like, what are you going to do?
Definitely. Fuck, man. Let's think about let's go back to like you just cracking the piece book and trying to perfect your artistic skills with a pen and a pencil and a shader, even just getting down and constantly attempting to master a particular whatever. So let's say it's character. Let's just say it's the way you want to shine your 3D blocks or whatever it might be, and then you're not feeling physically strong and physically like you're on point, and you haven't eaten a great breakfast, and with all those things you added into it. Like if you think about all those things in the sense of everything I do after gaining this fuel, sharpening my blade will be that much better, that much more productive. I'll enjoy it that much more, and I'm gonna see the progress that much quicker. It sounds very elementary, but how many of us really apply this? How many of us really go all the way back to the very beginning of what's the foundation? What's the why here? What is it that I really want to do? Okay, and I want to do the very fucking best job I possibly can, so what's that going to take? Cutting the blade. Somebody says your fucking blade is dull. Yeah, well, I got to get this done. I don't have time to sharpen this shit. Yeah, well, just take whatever amount of time it takes to get that done. Like, pick out the right foods, vegetables, whatever it is. Get that sleep. Mind and body, and then come back to whatever it is you're trying to perfect or whatever, master and just improve at, enhance whatever it is you're trying to do artistically, whatever you want to paint, the way you want to treat your crew, the way you want to present yourself as however you want to influence the next person in this culture. You take care of those things first.
This is one example on where you could say, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to eat right. I don't have time to go to the grocery store. And then there's an argument that could be made that says you don't have time to not do those things. Not only are you going to get more time on this earth, theoretically, I mean, like some shit could happen, but in general, your better health is going to give you more time on this earth, but it's also going to give you better time, more effective time. Your brain's going to be clearer, so you're going to get all your other tasks done faster. So when you think about the concept of sharpening the saw, it's like you're taking time that you think you don't have, but you're gaining it elsewhere. So like by eating right, by being healthy, at least getting some exercise in every day, it's going to make a huge impact on your productivity. So if it's graph, so here's the thing. Let's say you put all those things into effect and you go to paint a piece and you get the ladder spot. Who's going to be in better condition to be able to go up and down the ladder? Is it going to be the person that eats drive-through every day or the person that exercises and eats healthy? You're going to be up and down that ladder, no problem. And I've actually experienced this. I've been the oldest person in the production up and down a ladder for 3 straight days. And then another guy that was younger than me, after 20 minutes up and down the ladder, he was winded. And I was like, I've been going up and down the ladder for 3 days.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see for me because I was like, that means I'm doing something right here. Yeah. So, we can move on to something else. But I mean, to me, that's the beginning.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Do your best to try to get that done. And it'll expand everything. So,
It reminds me of what we just spoke about recently, which was giving an example of mental toughness, right? So this is basically just like expanding on that. Obviously, it's not just the mind. It's the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit. It's all these things. So for spots that are very, for all spots, for going out, and I could almost guarantee anybody who's listening to this right now, if you were to think of your favorite production or your favorite set that you ever did that came out just on point, the proportions, it was fucking clean, the colors, the blends, everything was just money. You most likely, if it wasn't a fluke, which rarely ever happens, if at all, you had that shit planned out. Not only was it planned out, Not only it's all about preparation. So what is the preparation? All those fucking things. You take care of your body. You take care of your mind. You get your rest. You get your sleep. You take care of those closest to you, your family, your friends, your loved ones. All those things are in line. It's like having your house in order, right? Your side of the street is always clean. When all those things line up and all those things are on point, when you've accomplished all the things you have to do to feel that strength, then you can improve. Then you can really move forward into the things you want to do and do those things fucking well. That's how I look at it. Like I'll give you an example of okay, so let's say it was, who cares how long ago? It was about 10 years ago. I was at a concert with some friends and we were fucking lit. And I was probably lack of sleep as it was already, and I'm just not in my right mindset. I probably ate shit that day. I'm younger, irresponsible in every way. And I go to climb a billy, and did I have all the gear that I needed? No. So what do I decide to do? I decide to, this is one of many examples. Instead of having a ladder set up and knowing my in and out and like what I'm going to do when I get up there, I just like grab whatever's like rolling around in the back of the car and I fucking try to climb up this billboard by holding onto the electrical fucking pole that's like flush against the main fucking part of the pole. And the whole fucking thing comes out, sparks go fucking flying. I almost like kill myself and everybody around me. Like it was just a perfect example of just none of those things lining up, not even putting any attention onto anything that fucking mattered. Fast forward into like more recent times where I got my sleep, I've eaten well, I've taken care of my exercise, my mind, body, spirit, soul, all those things are on point because I'm taking really good care of myself. We have time to plan because we're well rested, we're in good mood, so we interact with each other on point because like I said, we're rested, we ate well, we did all the right things. All the other things I had to do that week or that day were taken care of, for that moment. So then when I get to the spot and I'm doing what I'm doing, not only do I enjoy the fucking process, but we were fucking stoked on the outcome. And it all just felt so fucking smooth. And it just felt so just right.
Clear.
Right? Yeah, the clarity was unmistakable. Yeah. And I mean, I can contribute that to just those things from the moment I woke up in the morning, doing the next right thing for the next right reason, prioritize. You can eat well, you can sleep well, you can take care of those that are closest in your circle and all those things in your life if you learn how to prioritize. Most people will say, fuck, I don't got enough time for that much sleep. I can't fucking work out. There's no possible way I can make my own dinner. All these different things, guaranteed if your priorities were in order, that wouldn't be the case. I was listening to something on the way down here as far as like the average person and how much time they spend watching TV a week. One of the best things I ever did in my life was giving my cable boxes back. That was at the beginning of this year. It was probably the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. And how much time that frees up. And we think it's not much, but like the average person spends something like 20 to 24 hours a week watching TV.
Yeah.
Let's not even go with the social media fucking platforms. And I think it was like somebody spends something like 2 years in their lifetime on Facebook. Or it was like some kind of crazy fucking study like that. Like, can you even imagine?
Yeah, you can shift time around.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I think, we have this like weird perception of like how much time we actually have. And it's like, if you did what you're talking about, like actually break down where your time goes, I mean, you can free up 45 minutes to make and enjoy a delicious fucking healthy meal. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck, man? You know what I'm saying? I'm selling it. You can cook and prepare such a good, healthy, nutritious meal for yourself. I don't know where that came from. That shit was funny.
You could now order the graffiti machine pre-prepped fucking meals.
We're going to have a fucking cookbook.
Dude, you're absolutely right, though. It's like prioritize. That's the key to life, right? Balance. What's most important to me right now? Who do I love the most in my life? And have I spent that time with them? Have I spent the time cultivating that relationship with that person, with my crew? Have I spent the time fucking that relationship with myself and the whys? Why am I doing this in the first place? What is the foundation here? I think if we continue to go back to like the mission, like why are we doing this in the first place? Oh, because we're trying to be of service and give back and be of value and be of a benefit to the majority of people who care enough to fucking listen and maybe, oh shit, maybe there's something to that. Every time I think of that, okay, like what we're doing here in the shop, like there's a lot of physical and hard work happening in here, but the mission, like the end result, like what I visualize, what we visualize is fucking beautiful. And it like takes that whole bit of like work, even the word work, off the table for me. It just feels more like play because I can see the joy in the end result. I can see the joy in the fucking journey of even getting to that fucking place. So it's like going back to the why every single morning is what catapults me out of my sleep mode, you know? It's just like, oh, I know fucking why. Let's get it.
Attaching that why to the reason why you would take the time out to sharpen your saw, that could be a good way to kick yourself into gear. So like, why do you want to be more physically fit? I don't want to die when I'm 60 of heart disease. I want to fucking live longer. I want to, you know, give more to the world, you know, than I'm taking. All this kind of shit. You can attach like a bigger why. I don't know if that was even good or not.
No, it's 100% on point. The why, yeah.
So I think some of the stuff you said was about keeping up with like your crew and people that you're close to. And I didn't write this list down, but part of the list of the stuff in that book was the social aspect of things. So like how you carry yourself in public, and that's another way to sharpen the saw if I'm recalling that information correctly. But even if it's not, and for the purposes of our conversation, since graffiti is such a social thing, that's another aspect that you can sharpen to make sure your standing in the culture is better. Mm-hmm. It's going to help you get further in the culture if you're putting in the effort, you know. And I think if we're kind of on that path of like going back to the very beginning, really one of the things I was thinking about today was is avoiding negativity and negative thoughts and stuff. And I was realizing like how fucking hard that is, especially in this culture. And even though I'm on this path of trying to like keep things positive and everything, like I'm having negative thoughts every single day, you know, and it's getting kind of worse. And I forget to check myself. And I just remembered I read some books and I listen to some books so that I can kind of so I can listen while I'm driving. And then I take time out in the morning to actually read. Mm-hmm. And we can get into sharpening that as well. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I was listening to a book on the way here, and it reminded me that you have to maintain this, like, avoiding negative thoughts. And the thing that he said was, like, before you have a negative thought, just asking yourself, does it matter? You know, so, like, if somebody cuts you off, before you get pissed off, if you stop and ask yourself, does this really matter? In general, it really doesn't. And for me, it just fucking hit me right in the head. I was like, fuck. None of the shit that I'm getting pissed about every single day matters. And it's like my phone's constantly beeping and I'm having to answer the same question about, you know, shop stuff or people hitting me up on Instagram. And I find myself getting really pissed off. I'm like, fuck, I'm sick of answering this fucking question. I'll complain to you guys. Yeah. Putting more negativity out in the environment. So it's like,
I get it.
And it's rubbing off on other people. So, I mean, I'm saying like, this guy, this and that. And then I hear someone else saying, this motherfucker, you know, is outside yelling or whatever, you know.
Let's kill them all.
Yeah. And we're all just kind of like putting out this, you know, we're feeding into this negativity. Sure. And I reminded myself, I was like, none of that stuff really matters enough to like, to get upset about. So that's one example of me and us and our team. But, you know, as kind of the sort of founder or whatever of the, you know, the studio, it's sort of up to me to not bring that shit to the table. I mean, it's my job. It's not my job, but it's important for me to especially to not do that. Example. Yeah. So if I'm complaining to you guys, that's the absolute wrong thing to do. So let's go back to graffiti culture. If you just think about that, if you're, you know, if you're, I understand that when somebody goes over your shit at a yard, it's irritating, but like, how much does it matter? Like, if you think about in 2 weeks from now, am I still going to be pissed about that? Some people probably are, but how much does that really matter? I talked for a really long time, so let me turn it over.
All valid. And I can understand anybody younger, and maybe not even necessarily younger, that just has that, like, fuck yeah, it matters. Fucking disrespect. Don't they know who the fuck I am and who the fuck I think I am and where I'm from and how long I've been painting and all this shit. It's all impermanent. It's all fucking, it's all a beautiful reason why you should expand and enhance whatever the fuck you're doing in your life, with your graph, with your letters, with your piece, with the size, with the height, all those fucking things. Like, I can base it on my experience, and in my experience, when that type of shit happened, that's what hyped me up to want to do higher spots. Okay, yeah, there's just so much going on. There's so many possibilities of being capped or being dissed or being whatever. Let's just aim for fucking higher spots. That was just my mentality at that point, me and the people I was around. Let's just go bigger. So the tops of our fucking letters are going to pop no matter. They need to have to outdo this size if they're going to even think to cap this shit. And if they don't, the tops of our shit will ride forever. Like, that type of mentality pushed us to want to go bigger, go higher, all those fucking things. And I felt way more intrigued than intimidated. I was way more hyped up to try those things than I was pissed. Of course, I can go back to, like, being upset at those kind of things. But here's what I heard you say that we can apply to sharpening the saw and what you do on a daily basis that's showing your growth in that arena, right? We're all conditioned a certain way based upon what we've been doing for this chunk of our fucking lives. So even though we talked about this in past episodes as well, even though we want to improve these things and sharpen these skills and the way we carry ourselves, we have to give ourselves a break and not be so hard on ourselves. And knowing that I've lived my life this way for so long, it's going to take some time of reconditioning the way I react and the way I think and all those things before I kind of find a balance. And then that balance starts outweighing the positive side starts outweighing those things, those thoughts, whatever. But here's the thing. What's really important that you're doing on a daily basis that you might not even realize is it's completely natural to continue to have those thoughts. We're conditioned in a certain way, but it's what the fuck you're doing about it. So you have the thought, and you already said the middle part, like, you think about it. Is this shit really even important? And then based upon you coming to that conclusion, like, fuck, it really isn't, your action shows that you've been growing. Oh, it's really not that important. I need to just take a breath. I'm not going to respond to this dude, fucking die. Or whatever the fuck. Stop calling here, stop texting here. Fucking none of that shit happens because you take a minute and think about it, or we talk about it, or you say something. Because even, here's the thing, because the fact that we're all on the same kind of like trip right now, there's always going to be somebody that can pull you up and then you pull us up. Like, we're having that moment. We're like, dude, but it doesn't really matter. Don't even trip because of this, and that. Like, oh yeah, fuck it. So it's not even, I see what you mean by like, and you're still right. You should set that example. You should show, but if we all are on the same kind of path to realizing what really matters, what's really important, what's our mission here, what are we really doing anyway, going back to that why, someone's always going to be there to pull you up, to be like, don't forget, we're doing this because of this, and this cat's just not knowing what he doesn't know type of thing. Like, this is why we're doing this in the first place. It's like something else we had talked about. You know, you do anything that's going to be risky or that's going to be different or people are not used to or did not expect. At first, they're going to fucking laugh at it, fucking hate on it, all these different things. That's natural conditioned fucking response and reaction to that type of shit until they start seeing how it's applying to everything else and how it's improving all these things. And fuck, maybe they got a point. Oh shit, maybe that. And then at that point, then we can have that conversation and we can kind of meet them where they want to meet them, where they, as far as they're willing to go type of thing, right? I may be rambling, but you get what I'm saying. Like, You've definitely been, and we all have, practicing that without even realizing it because you're conditioning yourself to do those things. And I think we can take it back to exactly what we started this with, because you truly wake up, eat right, work out before you even get here. You know, we have these same routines that when we finally meet up at the spot, like, we're meeting each other where we're at, and that's why it's like making sense. And it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if more people, like you said, are willing to be that way, and we use giving back as an example, being of service and knowing that there's an overabundance of everything, that we don't have to cut the next cat down to get more, and that mentality, knowing that there's plenty for all of us, and we can all just like be on the same fucking ground. Like,
oh yeah,
it's a fucking beautiful realization.
Well, it's from that book, the win-win.
Sure.
There's like win-lose, lose-win, all the things. We could go into that.
Yeah.
But it's exactly it. It's sort of like there's enough for everybody. We don't, there's an overabundance of walls. There's an overabundance of space. There's an endless amount of paint. There's, so there's no reason why we need to get too crazy about all of this stuff. Like, I understand. I mean, like when you see that somebody went over you, or some fucking skater kid found a scrap can and drew a dick on your piece, and you're like, I spent so much time on that, I get it. I don't know. But there was another thing, I can't remember. I think it was in the, I think it was at the end of the 7 Habits book. And, the guy, I was driving, so I didn't get to take a note. This one I listened to, and he said he said that he heard something that like had this profound effect on him. And it was something along the lines of, between stimulus and your reaction is a space. And it's an interesting thing. So like, let's say you drew a dick on my piece, right? And there's the stimulus where I'm like, that motherfucker, but between me responding in whatever way that I'm going to respond, there's a little space there. And that's such a critical space to like put some importance on, because that's where you determine what you're going to do. And then in there is some shit that we've talked about. It's like what you do in that space is kind of the only thing that you have control over. Well, it's where you decide what you have control over. So how your response like, yeah. I can't stop you from doing that, but I can 100% control how I respond to it, anywhere from what I'm going to do, how I'm going to feel about it, what kind of reaction you get out of me. So going back to what we sort of started with on this section, which is your social standing in the culture, like if you really put some real value on that space between whatever it is that happens, somebody calls you a toy on fucking Instagram or whatever it is, put a little bit of importance on that space between that happening and the next step.
Only control that we have is the way we respond. Ultimately, that's all it ever will be, and how it will be. It's like we just said. It's like, someone's capped your shit, someone's talked shit, someone, whatever the fuck. Like, all right, so how can I use this as a silver lining? Where can I find some kind of growth here?
Right.
How can I expand and enhance what the fuck I do and who I am and who my crew is based on what the fuck just happened? This entire podcast has been a seed that you planted years ago, from what I understand, although it kicked off on our first episode based on some shit that happened at a show here. And it was just a conversation we had. It was like, fuck, dude, let's just get it going. And that's how it started. It was like that. Initially, it was like a negative, like, can't believe this shit happened. Fuck, like a downer kind of moment. So we thought in that conversation, which turned into something amazing. It's like, you know what? That's a perfect fucking, place to cut the ribbon and fucking open this shit up and get going, right? So
that's that stuff you were talking about with taking in the negative energy and turning it into
right, using that fuel. So value, okay, we can go back to the beginning of Sharpen the Saw: mind, body, soul, spirit. Mind, where do you find that value every single day? Let's start with physical. You wake up in the morning physically, like, let's go through our routines, right? Like, wake up, the value. Okay, I open my eyes and I see the value in this clarity that I'm feeling right now. And the value in, a lot of people don't like to work out, but you see the value in how you feel once you're done. So that gets you.
I'm one of those people.
Right.
I hate it.
Most people don't enjoy it until they start seeing serious results and they're in front of a mirror and they got their favorite track on and all that shit. Yeah, just fucking getting in the car and going to the gym or in your garage or wherever the fuck you're getting it, just to pick up the weights for the first time is fucking sometimes just sounds overwhelming. Though when you have that value in mind, the value, because I know once I'm done, my body feels tight, then I eat well, then I want to go out. And that's when my social skills and all those things are sharpened and improved, because now I feel good about myself, my confidence and all those things. And then with that confidence, now I'm fucking ready to fucking paint with all these cats, and I'm ready to show them what I just learned and fucking ready to get this shit tonight. Like, whatever it is, but it all plays into each other. So it starts with that value, the value. something happens, somebody says something online or wherever the fuck, then you're already in that, like, I've eaten well, I've slept well, I've fucking worked out, I've socialized with my family, my friends, I'm like on point. That shit doesn't really faze me. How can we find some value in this situation now? Fuck it. Oh, this cat went over fucking our boys, whatever. All right, cool. So let's blast over that shit with some silvers. Let's go bigger tonight. Let's invite the new guys to fucking make sure they help us fill it in. Whatever the fuck. There's some value in if you have not found value in that particular circumstance at this moment, then you haven't been thinking hard enough. If you still haven't found the silver lining in that situation because you haven't taken the time to really fucking look for it. I can say that, and I don't even know what you're going through at this moment, but I guarantee there is not a single circumstance out there where somebody who was in a very painful or a very challenging situation that ended up overcoming that didn't find it to be one of the best things they've ever done. I mean, some of the worst and most painful and most destructive things I've ever heard, those are the most inspirational stories, when you see some people have gone through these kind of things and then have surpassed, and it was because of all those mind, body, soul, spirit. I believe finding the value in the situation, finding the value and sharpening your fucking blade, your tools, whatever that might be. And then on the other side, it's something you just never would have fucking imagined. And the feeling and the fucking reaction and the outcome and how it influences not only, of course, most importantly yourself, but everybody in your circle, everybody around you, and then spreads. Bam. Yeah. And then that story's told, and then that story's told, and then that story's told. And fuck it, if just 1 out of 10 people pick up on it, fucking fresh, that shit's spreading.
We kind of went pretty far into talking about the social stuff. I was thinking about talking a little bit, and I don't know, maybe we don't need to, but as far as like practical stuff in terms of developing skills, because like when I first started thinking about the idea, or when that Sharpen the Saw part of the book came up, my first thought was like, oh yeah, that relates directly to like sharpening your skills and all that kind of stuff. But then it sort of like stripped it down to its very beginning when it started thinking about health and the stuff they were talking about with social stuff. So I wonder, without repeating a bunch of stuff because we've talked about this in the finding inspiration stuff, but as far as like sharpening your saw for developing your skills and shit like that.
Without trying to repeat anything we've really verbatim, anything we've learned or anything we've just already said. Sharpening your skills, like holding the fucking can, spraying, learning how to do tags better, learning how to do highlights better, whatever the fuck you're trying to do. If we're talking just about graph and we're talking specifically about artistic qualities of a writer, with all those things, sharpening your fucking saw, the mind, body, soul, spirit, okay? The point of the matter is, just like anything we come across on a daily basis, if you've slept well, if you've had your breakfast, your lunch, whatever the fuck, you treat people better. You respond to things better. You're going to be more likely to be social in a positive way, meaning asking for help, getting advice, working with other artists, getting tips, learning instructional videos on whatever else you want to fucking learn, or just painting with a new writer or another writer or somebody you look up to, somebody who's always going to challenge you. The thing about it is if you, I believe, if you add value to all those things we talked about, and you put them in your daily routine, literally you're eating well, you're sleeping well, you're the social part that we just went over, not only the person you may have woken up with this morning and your kids and your parents and your grandparents or whoever is around you, your whatever group you're in, if you're in church, like whatever it was, if you have all those things kind of in order and your side of the street is clean in that way, you're going to be more likely to you're going to feel the confidence, you're going to feel the drive, the motivation to pursue whatever it is you're doing, graph, whatever part of graph you're trying to do. And for me, it's asking somebody else for help, knowing I'm trying to expand my knowledge here. I'm trying to challenge myself. So if I'm not watching something or reading something, I'm asking someone or I'm attempting to collaborate with that person. So I feel like there's everything we've ever talked about, everything anybody ever does in life is monkey see, monkey do. We're all just picking up from shit we've heard or learned or whatever. So it's just expanding and enhancing that. It's asking more questions. It's wanting to learn more and ultimately In what way? In fucking every possible way that graph has something to offer us. The only way we learn anything, right, is all those things I just mentioned. We're either putting on a video, we're picking up a fucking can, we're trying it, we're reading a book, we're inspired by a picture or painting or nature or whatever, and we're fucking running with it. Was that way off fucking...
No, it was sort of like a transitional type of thought as far as like, if you think about, we were talking about social stuff, makes sense to talk about that in terms of getting inspiration from other people by painting with them and all that kind of stuff. I was thinking maybe we could talk about, it was that idea of deep practice and like getting slightly out of your comfort zone. And it's part of like something we're going to talk about in the future, which is like finding that flow. And they say that when you're like, let's say you look at two different things, like, and this happens to me a lot when I go to do a drawing and it just looks like the same drawing that I've already done, like same bee. I'm like, fuck, I just wanted to do a new bee and this is the same fucking bee. And then I get bored and I don't finish it. But like, if I go too far out of my comfort zone and it looks like total shit, I still don't finish it because I'm like, this bee looks like shit. Why even bother doing a US? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were talking about this cool thing that like, if you just get slightly out of your comfort zone, so it still is something you can do, but you're kind of breaking new grounds and you're making mistakes and you're correcting those mistakes and you're getting into that zone of deep practice where you're like, you're not thinking about some shit you got to do at work and you're not thinking about whatever it is. You're just in that zone of like, oh, okay, if I do this line like this, oh no, not quite like that. And you erase it and you do, and then things start clicking and you get into that. That's my understanding of what that zone of deep practice is like. So the idea is that you're sort of just outside of your comfort zone. So you're not getting bored, but you're also not getting too frustrated and you're finding this groove where you're learning. So I don't know if you have any of those things where like practical getting better at drawing letters or getting better at, is that something that...
Yeah, I think it doesn't necessarily need to be less of any of those things. It could just, one could be more, one could be less. It's finding the balance in all those things so that I can put all my attention on that when it is that time. And when you were saying that, I am so looking forward to showing some of these new letters that I have been doing. See, I've been doing the same shit for so fucking long because I've been so caught up in that same thing you just described. I gave up too easily, or it just didn't feel right. I was so conditioned to just quick and just get it and just what you're used to. And you can apply that to so many things in life. More recently, refining and how they're laid on certain spots. And my focus has been more on the spot itself and the surface and how it would, the end result would look that much more just beautiful by the way that I've approached it and I've laid it down and what I've done first, second, third, and fourth, and so on, and the angle and all that shit. So I have definitely been applying that deep practice to other values and other aspects of this culture. Now I'm about to do just that, is to try out some of these different lettering styles that I've been playing with. And I'm really excited to do so. I guess without even thinking about it, because this was not a plan of mine. I've just strategically, I was very militant when it came to how I did this. It was very like random. But I have really been focusing on more, because I've been in such a clear headspace, I've been so much more present at the spot that I have thought about things I never thought about before on the way my hand is angled for this particular part of this surface or wherever I'm at, and how clean this shit came out because I held it underhand instead of over, and I went left instead of right, or whatever the fuck it was. So now with that, that has been my deep practice. So now, yeah, I want to apply that to styles.
Like I have a tendency to kind of have some shit that I like to do, and then I kind of make a discovery for myself. Not like I'm saying I came up with this brand new shit, but like one example of like, it's probably like 5 years ago, and I still do these letters because I really enjoy doing them. And I'm not the first to do this. I even saw like a Fate piece that was like a vertical block letters from the 90s. I never saw it until like a couple weeks ago.
No shit.
I was like, oh shit, he was doing that.
Nice.
But anyway, I was I was drawing and I'm like, fuck, man, we're always going sideways. Why don't we go vertical? Let me just try that. And I kind of fucked around. And then I ended up coming up with, and I also wanted to incorporate 3D because I do that for a living. So I was like, I should be using my 3D skills and understanding. And so I kind of came up with this one block letter thing. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I threw it on Instagram and it got a really good reaction. And I was like, all right, well, if other people like it, maybe there's something to it. And I kind of developed it. And I still learn a little thing here and there. But at the same time, I got real comfortable with it, and it changes, and I have like different versions. Maybe some people don't notice the differences. I notice them very much when I do something slightly different. But another example is like somebody was like, oh, you're doing these really blocky things. You should learn how to do bevels. And I was like, I don't know how to do that shit. But then that turned into this sort of like obsession of like, how do I get the bevels to look the way that I want? And that sort of turned into another style. Yeah. And then within that, there was like these, I guess in the zone of deep practice, like being not super comfortable. So like when certain letters would come together, like the middle of the B, I was like, I can't tell which surface is the top and which is the bottom, which gets the shadow, which gets the highlight and things like that. And so you're kind of like out of your comfort zone, but it's still looking good. You're still happy with the result, even though there's like little bits where you're having a hard time figuring out. And then as you finesse and kind of develop, you start learning little things. I'm like, oh, cool. I can put a little crack in here and then put a little highlight on that crack. And then when you look at the flick, you see all that stuff. And there's that zone of deep practice, being slightly out of your comfort zone, but being more comfortable with what you're doing. But then there's always a tendency to sort of get stuck, like, and this happens to me all the time. I'm kind of in that zone right now. Well, I'm pushing my way through that zone right now, but I have like a few things that I enjoy doing. These vertical blocks, I like doing this one bevel style. And just recently I was like, I've been doing the same throwy since 1995 maybe. Somebody showed me a flick and they're like, hey, is this your one-liner? And I'm like, I don't know. It says bus. It kind of looks like, but I don't remember. I remember vaguely. But that makes me want to come up with a new one-liner but yeah, anyway, so I got my iPad out and I just forced myself to get into that zone with the knowledge of the idea of deep practice. I'm like, I'm going to get into this deep practice mode and just make mistakes, learn from them, and then try a different angle, this is overlapping too much, etc. Yeah. And I got to the point where there was one that I was like, okay, there's something there. And then it was like, all right, I'm going to keep that same one line strategy, but like, what if I do the top of the B way bigger and swoop it? And then how does the S balance out? And then all of a sudden, like all of this cool shit started happening that I didn't even know I was doing. Like there was this symmetry between like the bottom of the B and the bottom of the S that I didn't intend to happen. And there was this flow happening. And anyway, it's kind of long, but it was, I think what I'm trying to get at is like, if you allow yourself to get focused, and in that zone and like turn off all the extra distractions, like stop looking at your phone, maybe just give yourself a chance to like really focus in on what you're doing, hone in and get into that zone of deep practice.
Yeah. And those new one-liners are fucking fresh.
Oh, thanks, man.
Hell yeah.
I can't wait to paint them. I haven't actually painted it.
Yeah, we will. We'll get it up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah. I don't have much to I can't really ride the coattails of that one. That was well said.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Well, do you have anything that you want to add to the conversation, or?
I just believe in my experience today that all these things are so beneficial to everything that we do in our lives. If we put that importance on all those things, mind, body, soul, spirit, no matter what the fuck you touch will turn to gold. Or at least you'll see that enhanced and improved in ways that you never thought possible. I truly believe that.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, there's another thing that I read about, and I've just reviewed this again today. It's sort of the power of belief. And maybe it sounds kind of corny, fucking motivational speaker type of shit, but if you believe something, it's way more likely to happen than if you don't. So if you're like, I'll never be good at wild style and never be good at whatever. Put a label or put a whatever on there. If you believe you're never going to be good at something, most likely you aren't.
Yeah.
If you strongly believe, that's like the first step in actually accomplishing it. Like belief is the first. So if you're going to get into this mode of sharpening your saw, all the shit we just talked about, really the first thing you need to do is believe that it's going to happen.
The foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Damn right.
I think that'll do it for us.
Beautiful.
I believe we are done.
Yes.
All right, motherfuckers.
Appreciate all of you as always. And look forward to the next round.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yes, sir.
Later.
Peace.